Hi, you guys. It's Yaz. And today I want to talk about something really important for you guys to recognize. One of the most important things when you're trying to decide if the person that you're with is the right one or could be the right one is this, you guys. You got to ask yourself, does this person give me peace? Now, when you're young, a lot of people don't get that, okay? Because the younger you are, the more tolerance you have for a lot more things. That's why people, what they say, oh, when I was younger, I used to put up with this, or I used to put up with that kind of somebody talking to me like that, or somebody treating me like that. But as you get older and you gain more life experience and you become wiser through all your pain, you learn your lesson, okay? You will appreciate somebody who gives you peace, okay? Why? Because you've been through so much that you're at a point in your life where you're not going to tolerate somebody who doesn't give you peace, especially if you're somebody who's been through a lot, okay? That's why there's a lot of older people that don't want to bother with relationships because they've been through relationships that didn't give them peace, and they say, you know what, I'm never going through that again. I may be single and yeah, it would be nice to be in a relationship, but I'm not going to put up with anybody's crap, But see, a lot of people don't recognize this, but here's the reason that I'm doing this. When you're out there and you're dating somebody, let's say you're dating somebody or you're in a relationship, you have to look at what this person does. Let's get into specifics here. Is this person, contacting you back respectively, or are they causing like an unrest within you? Now, how do people disturb your peace? This is how people disturb your peace, you guys. In other words, they make you wait around. This is somebody who disturbs your peace because you don't know if you're going to see them. You don't know if they're going to call you. They're not always responding right back to you. This is somebody who's not giving you peace because they're leaving you in the dark, okay? What do I always talk about? I talk about transparency, where somebody is very clear with you, when they're going to see you, when they're going to call you. There's no games involved, okay? You have your peace. But when you're dealing with somebody who is not sincere in their intentions, or somebody who doesn't value you or takes you for granted, you are not going to have your peace, okay? Because your mind is going to go and you're always going to wonder, like, are they really into me? I don't know if this person likes me. I don't know. I mean, they show me attention and they're very loving when I see them, but then like I don't hear from them for a few days or something like that. That is not somebody who's giving you their peace. And the difference is people get fooled because they're only looking at one aspect. They're only looking at, oh, this person was really nice, really sweet to me. Oh, we had a great time on the date. And they're thinking, maybe something happened. This is the first thing they start to say. Oh, maybe something happened. Nothing happened 9 times out of 10, you guys, right? And usually if somebody, cares about you, they're going to let you know. They're not going to put you in the dark. They're not going to play games with you. And if they don't know how to do that, then they don't know how to be respectful to you. And you wouldn't want somebody who's not respectful to you, okay? Especially if you marry them. Because when you have real responsibilities or you're dealing with children, you don't want to flake. You don't want somebody who doesn't understand what it is to return a phone call. This is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody who gives you your peace, all right? And this happens to a lot of people that have been dating somebody for a couple of years. They don't know where they stand. The relationship's not moving further, in the future or whatever. And they're saying stuff like, we'll see what happens, or, oh, it's going to happen. We will make a formal commitment or something. They breadcrumb them and they lead them on. And the person, is sitting there with the carrot dangling in front of them and there's no actions behind it. That is somebody not giving you your peace. All right? Now you got to recognize this and you got to say to yourself, okay, why don't I'm seeing this person, but There's a lot of things I like about them, but there's a lot of things that, disturb me, that, is disturbing my peace. Okay? So the whole thing when you deal with relationships, whether, it's a relationship with a spouse, whether it's a relationship with somebody you're dating, whether it's a relationship with your family, your friends, your coworkers, is knowing how this person makes you feel. And also being able to differentiate that, okay? Yes, in the beginning, they always make you feel great, okay? You're something new, you're something fresh, and you're going to see the best of them in the very beginning. And then they start to show who they really are. Now, the problem is, a lot of people want so hard to make it work that they're not looking at the negative aspects. They're not looking that the person is not really making them a priority, or the person is juggling them as an option, and they're hanging on, waiting around, hoping that in time this person is going to all of a sudden come back around and be like, I want to be with you. Okay? Like I told you guys before, people know right away who they want, who they don't want, who's class A that they want something serious with, who's class B that they date, who's class C that's only good for a situationship or sex. They know that right from the onset, okay? Stop, making excuses and saying to yourself, well, maybe they don't know better. They know better. Believe me when I tell you, they know better, okay? So, the funniest thing is, like, I had a girlfriend, she was dealing with this guy who put on the act, I want a relationship with you in the very, very beginning when she started dating him, and all of these other, corny things and everything that just came off, very pretentious and fake. And it wasn't until she said to him, because she realized that he was a player and everything, it wasn't until she said to him, you know what, I'm not looking for a relationship or anything. All of a sudden, the guy changed into a different person and was being transparent with her because he didn't feel like he had to put on that facade to try to be, to fool her to get sex. So when she said something to him to the effect of, you know what, maybe we could just be, have fun together or something like that, and, I'm not looking for a relationship, then all of a sudden, his wall came down and she saw the authentic side of him, and the authentic side of him was somebody who didn't want a relationship, okay? So the point I'm trying to make in all this is this, you guys. The whole purpose of this podcast was looking for signs of whether somebody is giving you peace, okay? Now, when you're involved in a toxic relationship, one of the biggest signs that you are in a toxic relationship is that you're going to have those highs and lows. And the longer you go out with somebody, it's going to start to get into a pattern where you're going to have more lows, okay? Like, in other words, as time goes on, as people get to know each other, sometimes if you're dealing with a toxic person, you're going to get on the nerves of a toxic person because they don't know what it is to have somebody who has flaws, because a lot of them are narcissistic. They expect perfection. They expect to always have their way and everything like that. So you're going to have more and more lows and lows. So if you're in a relationship like that, you are never going to have your peace. Okay? And the biggest mistake that people make when they're in those kind of relationships is they think they're going to change somebody. You are not going to change them. Believe me, most of the time, these people never change. They never, believe me when I tell you, that's their basic character. They are not going to change. So stop trying to change somebody and start finding somebody that you don't have to change. That's the greatest piece of advice I could give you. Stop working with somebody that's that damaged that, you think you're going to perform miracles on them. No, No, you guys. When we say you build somebody up, see, this is another misconception I need to bring up, because a lot of people feel like, sometimes, if you show them the way, or, you have patience with them and everything like that, they'll come to their own realization and realize that they should treat you the right way and everything like that. That really depends on who you're dealing with. That really depends on if you put those boundaries up and that person respects your boundaries. But if you're dealing with somebody who is toxic, they are not going to respect your boundaries. They are not going to respect you. They are going to constantly break those boundaries. In other words, I'm going to give you guys an example. Let's say you say something to them, like, let's say they go out with their friends on Friday night, guys' night or whatever. And you say, okay, I don't mind you going out with your friends and you're in a committed relationship. And you tell them, listen, as long as you're home by, 12 o'clock or whatever, you're going out for dinner and drinks, whatever, you put a boundary on that. So they know that, they can not just run with it and you're going to sit there like a sap at home. Okay. Now, if they break your boundary once, you give them one warning. You let them know. You tell them, listen, this is not how I'm in a relationship. I wouldn't do that to you, and I expect you not to do that to me. If they break the boundary, you have to be prepared to walk away. And, these people, they talk. They yell and scream with their partners. They fight with their partners. And it gets to the point where their partner's just like, yeah, whatever. There she goes again. Who cares? She's not going anywhere. I don't see her bags packed. All right. So your word means nothing, you guys. So the point I'm trying to make in all this is that you need somebody that gives you peace. Somebody who respects your boundaries, somebody who respects your word. A lot of people are in relationships with somebody who don't respect what they have to say. They don't care. They're too comfortable in the relationship, and you're dealing with a selfish person. One of the biggest signs is that, you're dealing with somebody who's all about themselves. And they don't know what it is to sacrifice. And these kind of people are not going to give you your peace. And the biggest mistake is you keep giving them a pass. Or they gaslight you, or they lie to you, or they manipulate you, and you make an excuse for it. And you say to yourself, well, I know that they grew up in a troubled childhood. And believe me, I have friends that do this, you guys. They make excuses for who they're with, and they say stuff like, oh, he grew up in a troubled childhood, and he really, maybe he doesn't realize because of the neighborhood he grew up in. A lot of people do that. They feel they don't have to call their partner to check in or whatever. That's an excuse. I don't care where you come from. That's an excuse. All right. And that's why I tell you, you got to be clear in the beginning what your expectations are, what you expect, what you don't expect. This is what we call creating boundaries. And when somebody, breaks the boundary, you give them one warning. And then if they keep doing it, you have to walk away. You don't make excuses. You have to, hold the line, so to speak. It's funny because I saw this on this show, Marriage Boot Camp, you guys. I was watching it one day, and these couples, a lot of these guys were breaking the boundaries of the women, how many times they cheated on these women. Some of these women were pregnant when they were cheating on them. It was constant cheating. And you see them there arguing on the panel, constantly arguing. Well, he did this and he did that and he did this. But what are you still doing there? How many times did he do that to you? And you're still sitting there and you're expecting him to change. He knows that you're not going anywhere, so he's going to continue to do that. And it could go the opposite way as well. If you're dealing with a woman who's a very selfish woman who doesn't care and is running with it and doing whatever she wants to do, and you're still sitting there, she's going to continue to do that, okay? And why do these people stay with somebody like that, okay? Like I have a close friend of mine. He's in a marriage with a woman, a narcissistic woman. Okay. This woman is like so wicked, so wicked. And he is like such a great guy, but yet he will not leave that marriage. Okay. And we have all told him there is life outside of this. Don't feel like you have to be there and everything like that. And the reason that these people can't leave is because they're so codependent on being in the relationship that they'll put up with that abuse. They'll put up with living in a household with no peace because the thought of making a change or to be alone and having to start over is so like horrendous that they would rather stay there in that toxic relationship and deal with all the crap that they're dealing with because they don't have the self-worth or the confidence to say, you know what, I've had enough. I'm leaving, okay? I'm leaving. I'm not going to allow you to continue to treat me like this. You see, it takes a very strong person to be able to walk away from something when they've become codependent, and especially if it's been going on for years and you've been in a relationship for a long-term relationship, it's very hard to break that. We had a girl in the group who was in a very dangerous situation with her husband, okay? Where she said to her husband, I think I'm going to leave you because of my depression and my anxiety. And he took her head and he smothered her head in a pillow and almost killed her, you guys. And she's writing and she's saying stuff like, how can I start to love my husband again? You know, I don't feel the love for him because he's done these things. And, you know, one time he punched me right in the face 5 years ago. And, you know, I didn't think it would ever happen again. Well, yes, it's going to happen again. Of course it's going to happen again. Because that's how it starts. It starts with a push. It starts with a shove. It starts with them cursing you out and you don't check them. And it continues to escalate as time goes on and as years goes on to the point where you're going to end up on Dateline or 48 Hours. We told her you need to get out of there. You need to call the domestic violence hotline and you need a support system. But do not tell your abuser you were leaving them because that's when you're the most in danger, okay? And that's what happened. The minute that she told him that she was going to leave him, he almost killed her, you guys. And she's so victimized that she's at a point where she just wanted to know how she could love him again because she didn't know how to walk away from the relationship. This happens all the time. We read that, we pick up the paper all the time and we read about cases like this of these people. They know that they're in toxic relationships and yet they don't have the strength. They feel they don't have the support system to walk away. Okay? So this is why I'm telling you, I'm telling you before something gets to that point, not all relationships, of course, get to that point. I'm talking about the really bad ones. Okay? But the point I'm trying to make is you have to see, how does this person upset your peace? Because there's always little red flags in the beginning. And little red flags of how somebody disturbs your peace, for instance, is somebody who gaslights you, somebody who gives you the silent treatment, okay? Somebody who you try to communicate with and will not communicate with you, or you sit there and you try to talk to them and they stonewall you and walk out in the middle of the conversation and totally disregard you and treat you like you're nothing, and you sit there all upset. And then the worst thing in the world is you start to doubt yourself. You have self-doubt, okay? This person's breaking you down. They're breaking down your whole thought process and making you become very weak and dependent and codependent on them. Okay? This is why I podcast, to help you guys recognize the signs of people that will take away your peace, the signs of people that could be toxic and in some cases could end up very dangerous to be in a relationship with. There's a lot of people in very dangerous relationships with that kind of just tread water, that they're in relationships where they have to walk on eggshells, that they have to be afraid that if they say the wrong thing, their partner's going to flip out on them. Okay? This is no way to live. And some of them can't leave because they don't have the strength, they don't have the finances, all right? And they stay in these kind of relationships, and it's really a scary situation. That's why you have to recognize these things in the beginning, and the minute you see it, you got to get out when you see something really, really toxic, obviously, okay? But in terms of just general, does somebody give you your peace? You look at how they treat you. If somebody's treating you well, you're going to have your peace. Now, when I say treat you well, that doesn't mean, have to take you to a 5-star restaurant. That doesn't mean bring you roses every week. It just means that they respect you, okay? And they treat you like you are important. They make you a priority. They're consistent with you, okay? They don't play games with you. They don't treat you like an option or anything like that. They don't curse at you. They don't talk down to you or anything like that. Anybody does that, you got to check them in the beginning. If they do it again, you have to walk away, because it's going to get worse. That's the beginning of toxicity. And then it progressively gets worse. So here's the thing, you guys. Here's what I'm going to tell you. When you're dating somebody, whatever stage, especially in the beginning, you have to have your antenna up, okay? Look at how this person talks to you. Look at how this person talks to other people as well, especially in the beginning, because like I told you in the beginning, they're going to be very nice to you, and they may show signs where they're rude to other people or nasty to other people. How they are to those other people is how eventually they're going to be to you, okay? That's a great way to know how this person's eventually going to turn on you down the road, okay? The more they get comfortable with you. But you have to see, when you're sitting there and you're questioning your relationship and you don't know, if you're in a good relationship, you're in a bad relationship or anything, you have to say to yourself, is this person giving me my peace, okay? Do I have to always worry in this relationship? Now, here's the thing. No relationship's perfect. And here's another excuse that people say. They'll say, well, no relationship is perfect. Yes, no relationship is perfect. That is true, okay? But you have to look at the degree of the highs and lows. You have to look at are you dealing with big problems or little problems, okay? Are you dealing with somebody who cannot hold a job and there's always going to be financial worry and you will not have your peace because the financial burden will always fall on you? Are you dealing with somebody who's verbally abusive, that has potential to be physically abusive down the road? That's a huge, big red flag, okay? Are you dealing with somebody who contacts you whenever they feel like it, okay, and not giving you your peace? Then you're just dealing with somebody who's juggling you and is not looking for something serious. You have to look at the situation and you got to piece it apart so that you know exactly who you're dealing with and whether you should bother with that person. Okay? And when you see danger signs, you don't ignore those red flags. You get out. There is life on the other side. Don't ever think, I don't care what age you're at, there is life on the other side. There's always another door that will open up, okay? So, never feel like you're at a point where, I got to put up with this because there's nothing else around, or this is the best I could do, or they are really good. No, okay? No, because you're putting yourself in a bad place. You're closing doors to other people that could be better for you, and you're being with this person, and as the years go on, it's going to get worse, all right? So recognize those red flags of whether this person is giving you their peace or not. I hope that helps you. If it did, hit the subscribe button, and please share the podcast. Have a great day, you guys. Hi, you guys, it's Yaz. I want to tell you about my 2 books that are on Amazon, okay? You can download them free with the trial membership from Kindle. The first book is Regain Your Power. If you're in a relationship and you feel like your partner has all the control in the relationship, maybe you're walking around on eggshells, you're afraid to approach them, it's going to tell you how to regain your power and be happy in the relationship, okay? And what you may be doing wrong, and that's why your partner has all the control in the relationship. The other book is Signs He's Not Into You, He's Wasting Your Time. There's a lot of people that are dating someone or in a relationship with somebody who's not really vested in the relationship. And we often are confused as to whether our partner really likes us or is into us or wants a future with us. And this book is going to give you signs and red flags of whether your partner is into you or he's just basically drifting and wasting your time. So go to Amazon and download the Kindle free trial membership. Doesn't cost you anything. And check it out. It may help you. Okay? And have a great day. Audible is offering listeners a 30-day trial. Doesn't cost you anything. It's free 30-day trial. You get to select any book that you want on there and listen to it. They have books on there about breadcrumbing, love bombing, why did they lose interest, dating, relationship, any kind of book you're interested in and want to learn about, okay? You could listen to it in your car or if you're on the bus or the train. So go to my podcast description for the link at tinyurl.com/AskYazNow and start your free trial.